A complete walkthrough of all 4 units and what to expect for the LMS, podcast, video intro, and marketing. Welcome to the Intelligent Life Guide. 23 centuries ago, a merchant named Zeno lost everything, his ship, his cargo, his fortune, in a wreck off the coast of Piraeus. He washed up in Athens with nothing. He wandered into a bookshop, read about Socrates, and asked the bookseller a single question: where can I find a man like that? Out of that shipwreck came a philosophy that would guide a Roman emperor through a plague, free a slave from the inside out, and reach across 2,000 years to land, if you let it, in the middle of your ordinary, complicated modern life. That is what this course is about. Not theory for its own sake, not self-help slogans you'll forget by Friday. An integrated, evidence-tested operating system for a life lived well, drawn from 8 disciplines, ancient and modern, and assembled into something you can actually run. I'm Professor Hanna, and over the next 16 weeks, I'm going to hand you that system one piece at a time. By the end, the pieces won't feel like 8 separate subjects. They'll feel like one thing. They'll feel like you. What this course actually is, most personal development programs make one of 2 mistakes. Either they're all inspiration and no instruction, they make you feel something for an afternoon and change nothing, or they're all technique and no soul, a pile of life hacks with no answer to the question of what the hacks are for. The Intelligent Life Guide is built to avoid both. Every week pairs a genuine philosophical or scientific framework with a concrete, daily, trainable practice. You will not just learn that the Stoics distinguished what is in your control from what is not. You will keep a journal that makes the distinction a reflex. You will not just read that attention is trainable. You will sit and log and watch your own data move. Here is the course's central wager, stated plainly, so you know what you're signing up for. Self-mastery is the foundation of all leadership, all relationship, and all meaningful work. And self-mastery is not a personality trait you were born with or without. It is a set of skills, and every one of them responds to practice. 16 weeks from now, you will have evidence for that claim in your own handwriting. This is also not a course you pass by listening. It is a course you complete by doing. Each week carries a real assignment: a journal, a log, a plan, a conversation, an experiment, and the grading rubric never changes. Honesty and specificity over polish. The real attempt over the impressive performance. A journal entry about losing your temper in traffic will always outscore a flawless paragraph about virtue in the abstract. The work is the point. The work is where the transformation actually happens. How the 16 weeks are built. The course moves through 4 units, and the order is deliberate. Each unit installs the tools the next one needs. We begin with the foundation, the regulated, examined self. We build the inner instruments, trained attention, and the machinery of leadership. We apply those instruments to the world, ventures, emotions, and relationships. And finally, we reach the deepest layer, the thought patterns and behavioral defaults that shape everything else. And we learn to renovate them on purpose. Then, in the final week, we assemble all of it into a single operating system with your name on it. Let me walk you through each unit so you know exactly where we're going and why. Unit 1, Foundations of the Mind, weeks 1-4. Everything begins with the self, because you cannot lead, love, build, or serve from a self you haven't learned to govern. Unit 1 builds that governed self from 2 ancient traditions. Weeks 1 and 2, Stoicism. We start with the philosophy of resilience. You'll meet the 3 great Roman Stoics: Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who journaled his way through a plague; Epictetus, the slave who reasoned his way to total inner freedom; and Seneca, the statesman who audited his own conduct every single night. From them, you'll take the single most useful distinction in all of philosophy, the dichotomy of control. Some things are up to you, your judgments, your intentions, your responses, your effort. Most things are not: outcomes, other people, the past, the economy, the weather. Nearly all human suffering, the Stoics argued, comes from pouring energy into the second column. The first week, you'll learn the principles, the dichotomy, amor fati, memento mori, negative visualization, and begin a 7-day Stoic journal. The second week, you'll take it into the arenas where it actually gets tested: anger, anxiety, adversity, and decision-making under pressure. Weeks 3 and 4, servant leadership. Then we turn outward, and you'll discover the bridge is shorter than you'd think. Stoicism taught you that your character is the only thing fully yours. Servant leadership asks what that character is for. Robert Greenleaf's radical answer in that the best leaders are servants first gives you a new standard for power. Not what you extract, but whether the people you lead grow as a result. You'll learn his 10 characteristics. Rate yourself honestly against all of them. Study how Southwest, Starbucks, and USAA built billion-dollar cultures on serving employees first, and bring servant leadership home into your family, your friendships, your community. By the end of Unit 1, you'll have written your own one-page leadership philosophy and a 30-day plan to live it. What you'll carry out of Unit 1: a daily reflective practice that's already changing how you respond to difficulty. The ability to separate what you can control from what you can't in real time. A clear, examined philosophy of how you intend to lead and serve, and the foundation, the load-bearing wall, that everything else in the course is built upon. Unit 2, Inner Mastery, weeks 5 to 8. With the foundation laid, Unit 2 builds the instruments, the trained attention that catches your experience early enough to use it, and the leadership machinery that converts self-mastery into real-world influence. Weeks 5 and 6, Mindfulness. Stoicism gave you the judgments to examine. Mindfulness gives you the attention that catches a judgment while it's still forming. We begin with the science, what attention training measurably does to the human brain, from John Kabat-Zinn's hospital basement in 1979 to the modern fMRI scanner. You'll learn the landmark research, perform 3 core practices: breath awareness, the body scan, walking meditation, and discover the single most freeing idea in the whole discipline. When your mind wanders, that's not failure. The moment you notice you've wandered is the repetition. Then, in week 6, the practice leaves the cushion and enters daily life. Mindful listening that will change your closest relationships. Focus in an attention economy engineered to harvest you, and a digital detox built on design rather than willpower. Weeks 7 and 8, leadership. Now we add the machinery. You already hold a leadership philosophy. This is where you get the frameworks the professionals use: transformational, situational, authentic, and adaptive leadership, and learn exactly when to reach for each. You'll see why Daniel Goleman's research found that emotional intelligence, not IQ or pedigree, separates the best leaders from the average ones. You'll learn the architecture of difficult conversations, the design of a talk that lands, and the discipline of listening at leadership altitude. Week 8 closes the unit at organizational scale, culture, vision, ethics, and moral courage, and includes the course's midterm, your first comprehensive retrieval of everything you've built. What you'll carry out of Unit 2, a portable attention practice with a measurable dose, the ability to stay present and regulated in the exact moments most people lose themselves, a working command of the major leadership frameworks, and a self-assessment that names your signature strength, your blind spot, and your shadow, and a felt understanding of the course's deepest claim, that a leader's outer effectiveness is the compound interest on inner training. Unit 3, Emotional and Entrepreneurial Intelligence, weeks 9 to 12. Unit 3 takes the regulated, attending self and points it at the world, at building things under uncertainty, and at the emotional and relational intelligence that determines whether anything you build or anyone you love actually flourishes. Weeks 9 and 10, Entrepreneurship. You'll learn to see the way entrepreneurs see, problems as unserved customers, uncertainty as an information advantage, risk as a price to be checked before you flinch. This is not just for founders. It's a transferable posture toward any problem. You'll master the business model canvas, the lean startup method, the difference between profit and cash flow that kills first ventures, and the resilience research behind the great comeback stories. Jobs, Blakely, Disney, and you'll watch throughout how entrepreneurship turns out to be applied, Stoicism with a revenue model, uncertainty embraced, outcomes released, obstacles converted, downside priced in advance. Weeks 11 and 12. Emotional intelligence. Then the inward and outward halves of emotional mastery. Week 11 gives you the architecture, Goleman's 5 domains, plus the vocabulary research that shows precise naming of emotions measurably improves your ability to regulate them, and the anatomy of the amygdala hijack, why intelligent people send unsendable emails, and the 3 protocols that shorten the hijack, shrink its damage, and speed the repair. Week 12 turns fully outward, the 3 kinds of empathy, and when each serves, the real mechanics of conflict resolution, the research on what actually predicts whether relationships survive, and trust, modeled as an equation you can audit. The unit ends with a real difficult conversation, held with everything you've learned, what you'll carry out of Unit 3, the ability to frame any decision as a testable hypothesis and price its downside before you commit. Emotional literacy precise enough to catch a feeling at the whisper stage instead of the explosion. A personal protocol for your own hijack pattern, and a set of relational skills. Empathy deployed at the right dose. Conflict turned into information. Trust built deliberately that quietly upgrade every relationship you have. Unit 4. Behavioral Transformation. Weeks 13-16. The final unit reaches the deepest layer of all, the automatic thoughts and culturally scripted defaults that generate the feelings and behaviors you've spent 15 weeks learning to read. This is where change stops being a matter of willpower and becomes a matter of engineering. Weeks 13 and 14, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. CBT is the most rigorously validated form of psychotherapy in existence, and at its root is a discovery the Stoics made first. It is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. You'll learn the thoughts, feelings, behaviors triangle, a field guide to the 10 ways thoughts reliably distort, and the 7-column thought record, an instrument that takes a distorted thought apart and measurably drops its emotional charge. Then, in week 14, you work the 3rd corner of the triangle directly, behavioral activation, which reverses the downward spiral of low mood by scheduling action before motivation arrives, exposure, the gold standard method for retiring fear, and a triage skill that matches any form of distress to its right tool. Week 15, the 90% alcohol-free lifestyle. Here, every instrument you own converges on one concrete high-stakes application. This is not a temperance lecture and not abstinence by shame. It's an architecture of intentional moderation, the science of alcohol delivered straight, the cultural scripts examined honestly, and a practical framework of defaults, ceremonies, social scripts, and urge protocols. And whatever your relationship with alcohol, devoted, casual, complicated, or none, the deeper lesson transfers to everything. How to redesign any culturally scripted default on purpose. Week 16, Integration and Transformation. The Summit. The 8 disciplines assemble into one coherent framework, and you build your personal development blueprint, a complete operating system for the decades after this course ends. Every line of it evidenced from your own 16-week file of journals, logs, records, and plans. You'll write a reflection measuring the distance you've traveled, sit the comprehensive final, and walk out with something almost no one possesses, a life under deliberate, examined, maintained management.